All right, everybody, welcome back to Off the Grid on the Record. I'm your host, Yarek, out here in Toronto, Ontario. And on this show, we focus on operators, founders, and innovators in energy, infrastructure, mobility, and the spaces in between. So all the people solving real-world problems, often without a playbook and hopefully with a focus on sustainability. And Andrew, you're here. What you're building with SNAAP, SNAAP Transportation, a decentralized, accessible, and autonomous transit system that can drop people off directly at their destination, is one of the more ambitious and, I guess, equity-focused visions we've seen in the urban mobility space. So you're not just moving people, you're building a framework for sustainable freedom of movement. So let's start with the vision. What sparked the idea for SNAAP? How did it evolve from concept to, where you are today?
Yarek, great program. I'm sharing this with everybody I know, so thank you for having me.
Amazing.
And actually,
Love to
when
hear
you
it.
have me, I really like to make sure everybody hears that I am only the front face of the team of SNAAP Transportation. We did a recent video production called SNAAP Transportation Frontline Innovators and Inventors, because they are literally cold hand, glove and wrench at, doing the work. So again, I'm a voice box. But to your question, SNAAP Transportation was actually founded and conceptualized by Cal Chamberlain about 30 plus years ago.
Wow.
He's a solution engineer, and he was stuck in Atlanta traffic by himself, downtown, gridlock, next to a rapid transit bus lane, high occupancy vehicle lane, both underutilized. And now fast forward 30, 35 years, that hasn't changed. But he says, as an engineer would, there's got to be another way. And so while I was working with Cal and we co-founded the company, he had certainly done a lot of iterative work, research for 25 years. When we stood the company up, we kind of did some retooling and repositioning. And we did that in 2020. So
Wow.
Cal was our CEO founder, and I was certainly president co-founder. And then he passed away 2.5 years ago. But while all of us were working with him, he just kept pouring into us, talking. If we spent all this time getting people into cars, how do we get them out of cars? And so it's got to be appealing. It's got to be safe. It's got to be affordable. It's got to be accessible. It's got to be all these things.
Exactly.
And so that's what had driven us. Our president, and actually as of last night, she is now president and chairman, is
Wow.
Kristen Corville, who is his daughter.
Wow.
So actually, after Cal died, Cal's wife became chairman, Corinne Chamberlain. And so it's really important that people hear up front. We're a woman-owned company. We are minority investor-led. We have zero debt, and we own all of our IP, trademarks, and partnerships and markets ahead of us. So we are very much a different practice of how you do startups, and that we have time, we'll kind of unpack some of that. But the vision was that the issue that he faced in 1999 was traffic congestion. What is the root problem? The root problem is there's more than 80% single occupant vehicles on roads throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
They are what cause traffic congestion, and then the other issues of pollution, environmental degradation, lack of sustainable infrastructure. That was the vision. Fast forward, reset, we got him Crazy Cal out of the garage. We stood up in a warehouse, a very dusty warehouse in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I assembled a handful of people smarter than me. We got everything that was in his head out on paper.
Wow.
We built a 35-foot runway. We did a wood cutout. We did the motors and the software. Pushed the button and the damn thing worked. And at that time, that was all very early bootstrapping. But on that day, I think I'd call it June 17th, 2020.
Wow.
We had flown in some investors, and they said, great. And they wrote us our first angel check. And that
Amazing.
was 5 years ago. Now, the interesting part is that as of today, and whenever this is broadcast, so this is June 4th of 25, as I said, we have zero debt. We're extremely conscientious, I'll say fiscally conservative bunch, even though we're undertaking an audacious project. But that's how we've maintained zero debt. So we're actually raising a small kind of bridge funding now. Mm-hmm. And if anybody wants, then go to info@ridesnap.com. But we actually are standing in front of, I can't count how many letters of intent or heading towards memorandums of understanding, raising between 8 and 55 million. And I'll describe how that works when we talk about strategic partners, investors, and projects.
You got it.
So that's where we are. Now, to the product itself, we got them out, got funded. We've been residing at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga Advanced Vehicle Test Facility for the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. And we now have if you were to download the app, so you could do, what do we call it? SNAAP Rider, which will be released this weekend in Android. And you could go to the advanced vehicle site, and the pod would be there, a prototype pod, and you would climb in, and it would say Yarek, and it would take you for a run around the what we call our ribbon way. And so we are not in the future. Our other tagline is the future is here. Take it for a ride.
That's amazing. And I think one thing I definitely want to touch on is SNAAP. It's not a bus. It's not a train. It's not an Uber. So for someone hearing about it for the first time, like how would you describe the transportation model you're building? And it might get technical, but try and keep it in plain English for us.
No, actually, if I have to be the voice box, it's got to be very simple. It's got, as Cal said, it's got to be simple and relatable. The best way to describe what we do, so if the problem is single occupant vehicles, then our focus is not on group transit. Our focus is on single occupant transit. And if the problem are vehicles on the ground, well, then we can't be on the ground either. So the best way to describe it is a personal monorail.
That's interesting.
Now I'll go a little bit further. Now let's go with Mr. Jetson meets an amusement park monorail. And people are like, okay, now I'm getting it. And it's kind of, now it's futuristic. Or you can actually, when we start to talk about the building of our system, there was an old little sciencey lab kit in elementary school called an erector set. And an erector set were metal pieces and, bolts and nuts and stuff. And you'd open it up and then you could build stuff. And so when we actually talk about building and scaling SNAAP in our kind of bigger ecosystem, we say it's an erector set meets a train track. And so now you have a picture of a single occupant pod. We also have a dual. Mm-hmm. We also have a ADA or disability. In the Middle East, they refer to people with disabilities as people of determination. So we have a single, a dual, an ADA or people of determination, and then a cargo pod. So where the inside of the cockpit is actually empty and you can roll product carts in and out, equipment carts for micro distribution.
Amazing.
So now imagine this 16 feet above the air or 5 meters, depending on your system.
Yeah.
And now it's battery powered and solar charged.
Wow.
So for our youth who are, fussing and complaining about the older ones of us that have wrecked the economy and wrecked the environment, we're actually doing our little part. And so now imagine, the little micro scooters on the ground that you'd see at a street corner or shopping areas.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to get on that. Just impractical. And if I did, I wouldn't go very far. And the actual data says people that ride the birds and the limes and the yellows, those little scooters, the average distance is about 1.1 mile. So, and then if you start to segment the age group, well, they're about 16 years old to under 28. So they fulfill something. And so if you look at the studies about mobility, transportation, and a lot of the issues facing urban life, everything in the future of mobility and transportation is going to be about layers or multimodal. Multimodal, I always think to say, hey, it's going to be different stuff. I like talking about multimodal and really focusing on layers. We've done subways. We're actually doing everything we can on terra firma. So we're trying to autonomous vehicles, micro-mobility, better batteries, all this other stuff. But none of those substantively help the issue of traffic congestion.
Of course.
Well, the latest excitement everybody has is flying cars now, air taxis.
I think that's always been an excitement.
And from SNAAP Transportation, we say knock yourself out. But don't think for a minute that you can have 20,000 flying taxis covering a particular highway route that's going to have any impact on traffic congestion.
Exactly.
So we say do it, but don't be naive to think it's going to have an impact. And so ours is the first in the world personalized monorail that's 16 feet above the ground on average and go up and go down and we go underground if we needed to. Mm-hmm. But it's because we focus on a single person or dual, and then we can platoon them and have them run by each other. Our system is lightweight. It is scalable. It is flexible. We do not require new road construction. We do not require new traditional infrastructure. We build ours in weeks and months rather than years and decades. And the average cost for monorail, rail, and other type projects is between $150 million and $240 million a mile.
Wow.
And that is, of course, for mass transit, group rail, group monorail, those kinds of things. We are right about $8 million per mile to build our ribbonway. Different number.
That's amazing. Are there any cities or private developers that you're already working with as part of like your model cities program?
Well, you did do your research. Way to go, man. Yeah. And as I joked with everybody, I steal shamelessly, so I may have to steal you from your own program. So it's a great point. Is as I said, we are in the midst of both raising a small bridge amount, and it's very targeted. When we raise any kind of money, it's very line itemed. It's going to
Hmm.
be used for this, and not for anything else, which has kept our, I'll say, our very close knit friends and family just really excited. It's exciting. But then to the business model, if you people look at SNAAP and transportation, and go, oh, heavy capital cost, heavy investment, heavy. And I say that most of our time is teaching people that that's not us. So when I
Hmm.
send out this email to people, I said, first of all, you have to give up. You have to just stop and think of what we do at a fundamentally different level. So the first one is we have created an ecosystem. And the SNAAP transportation ecosystem consists of the pod that you ride in, the ribbonway or rail, but we call it ribbonway, so we use different vernacular, and the software. That's it. So, in that simplistic sense, if Dubai, Sao Paulo, Greenville, South Carolina, Tampa, Florida, Omaha, Nebraska, Baltimore, Maryland, Berlin, Toronto, I
Wow.
haven't been there, but I'm coming up soon.
Yeah, let's schedule
Because our
something. I want to
model
see
is an
that.
ecosystem, it means that it can be licensed anywhere in the world. And so we ask the people that would like it. And this is where people, you've got to also get away from convention that, well, this is for roads, this is for public transit. Well, our actually go to market is private sector first. And so when we say that, we think about transportation hubs, sports and entertainment venues, college university campuses,
That would be huge.
ports, marinas, and harbors, large scale manufacturing locations that it's anytime you park your car and go, oh God. And we've all been there. In fact, we're all still there.
Exactly.
And then it's really Kristen Corville, who's again president. She's better wordsmith than I. We meet the environment where it is and how it is, which of course means if you're in downtown, we can actually come in at 16 feet or 5 meters above grade in very narrow corridors. We can
Hmm.
offset into a second floor parking garage, just a simple. Here's the main line, and you offset here. It's a nonstop, on demand, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it is built for the common person. So that's the
Exactly.
system itself. Now, if somebody wants to license it, we say, let me pick Sao Paulo, Brazil. They have large scale rail, billions of dollars of construction, but they'll actually have some lines that'll actually stop, a couple miles short of the destination. And
Hmm.
it's a little interesting. We would a great gap filler.
Yes.
Perfect. You get off of that, you ride over, and you're able to kind of go the rest of the way. But what they do is they're going to license our ecosystem. First question we ask, can you do your own steelwork for the ribbonway?
Hmm.
Second, we will stand up a micro manufacturing plant in Sao Paulo, build the first 10,000 pods, support them and support the system, and then ultimately turn this over to them. So it's all locally driven, local capital,
Hmm.
and then also the job creation, workforce development, upskilling, education, and economy all around the ability to move people. So it just happened to be transportation is the mechanism for a better quality of life.
Fair enough. I honestly have never thought about it that way, and now
Nobody
hearing you
has.
talk about it, it's incredible.
No, I mean nobody has. I mean, people are like
Exactly.
impressed about the system, and then they go, "Wait a minute, this is how you're putting the system into play." And the answer
Yeah.
is, yeah. So right now we have the letters of intent, which if you have the business people out there, wow, it's just a letter of intent. Well, no, there's some of these are have a lot of claw in them.
Exactly.
From Brazil, I'll leave it generically the country,
Fair
places in the
enough.
country. We have a couple here in the United States already. We have a few interesting things in the Middle East, and I will just say that's a regular tour of duty right now. About every 3 weeks I'm there. We actually expect to close soon on one of those letters of intent to turn it into a first contract,
That's
which could be this
fantastic.
year, 2025.
That's amazing. That'll be a huge year then. And my next thing I have to ask, because
Please.
I think this is a question that I think people are thinking of, but with an autonomous nonstop model, there's bound to be skepticism somewhere. It's
Every day.
exactly. So how are you approaching, safety, trust, like public buy-in, that entire area?
What is actually surprising is it is a little bit generational, and a lot of it is not going like to, if somebody says here, enter this public government office, would I go to the transportation office or would I go to the innovation and resiliency office? Well, you guess already where I'm going, or sustainability.
Of course.
The first conversation for SNAAP is rarely with transportation officials if this is public. Now, remember what I said. Our go-to-market is not public necessarily. In the United States, we are governed and regulated and have been in a certain manner. And while we continue to go through the processes of completing our work, design, build, everything is on rail safety, passenger safety, fire safety, every regulation. Our lead engineer puts things into outer space. So we're pretty comfortable with our design and build.
Very well versed.
But you can also, in the United States, build a circus in your backyard and take it on the road. So we're probably pretty well past that. And so if that's a good framework, things like autonomous vehicle spacing software has been around for decades. The number of sensors we have on our pods, I mean, and so I'll never say an accident couldn't happen. However, if you look at, and I will not call out names, but if you look at some of the driverless vehicles on roads in the United States, I don't know about every other canvas, they recalled 1,200 recently. Software accidents problems. Because we're on a dedicated elevated ribbonway, there's no cross traffic. We own the environment. So the major issues are, if you're in a pod, an emergency happens, can you get out? The answer is we've got probably 5 different ways to get out. If you have a medical emergency, you would be actually, imagine you're in a center and you have a heart attack and an emergency vehicle can't get to you. Well,
you're reading my mind with these questions.
Here you're on an elevated rail, you're feeling ill, push the emergency button, and if you can't, we have all the other, I've slipped and fallen and I can't get up alerts, but it would actually take you to the first portal that is closest to a center and then actually deploys medical personnel to that, what we call portals and docks. So in all likelihood, you're better off.
Fair enough, and you're not stuck in a
and
jam.
Then people ask, how fast does it go? It can go 100 miles an hour if you want it to, but it would scare the tar out of me. So the average speed is 32 to 45 miles an hour. Now, if you think about a standard 20-mile commute or 20-kilometer commute, you're talking 40 minutes-ish, probably, if not longer. Or depends on the time of the night or day you leave to go do your commute.
Absolutely.
This is always going to be, 22 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not going to change. And
That's
remember,
fantastic.
when you get there, you're not strung out. You don't have to find parking. You can have the whole time inside the pod is, what music do you want? You could have a conference call. Your kids can call you. Depending on a very robust deployed system in a municipality, our portals would be every quarter mile. That is our most condensed version. And so if you're standing on the ground in a fully blown out system, you would go no more than 1/8 of a mile in either direction. So you're basically, if you're on a running track, you're going from right here to just the other side. And then if you start looking at all the other mobility systems, then they start to kind of line up. It's like, well, micro scooters, the new electric rickshaws, all the different things, they will be waiting for all the people getting off. Here we are, we're ready to go. And that's how the future of mobility will start to transform itself.
That's fantastic. And it's such an ambitious vision. And, actually seeing it coming to life is amazing. But you're also practical about your, go-to market strategy. So, I mean, what's been working in terms of outreach? Who do you pitch first? Is it cities, private landholders, maybe developers? I mean, what's getting exciting there?
Yarek, I'm going to tell you, I don't know how long you've been doing your podcast, but if you're coming to this conversation with all this, you're well into the mix. I'm an educator by background. And so this has been all new. Now, I've been an educator, but I've been a strategist, a go-to-market specialist for software companies, and global at scale. So this was a fair amount of transferable skill, but some of the nuances that are inherent in transportation and safety regulatory issues, how the U.S. operates versus other parts of the world, those were kind of learned along the way. But when it comes to sales and the outbound, we had zero public presence until September of 2024. None. I mean, we had our Instagram site, we had our LinkedIn site, we had a Facebook site, but I think I put our logo up once just to hold the spot.
Wow.
September of 2024, we attended the Move America Transportation Mobility Conference in Austin, Texas. And that, for all intents, we announced ourselves to the world. And again, I said we're conservative. We would not do that until we knew if somebody says, I'm going to go to Chattanooga, I'm going to prove you guys, I got to check this thing out, until you could go there and climb in and take it for a ride around our little test site. And that's when we did that. And then we went, we pitched and presented. But what was also funny, leading up, the conference had, companies that are attending, and then it had a list of the startup companies. I kept getting emails and calls, and they're from PR firms and all those things. Who are you? Where are you? You need a press team. You need all these other things. And we're like, well, no, we really don't, because we're focused on our system and not make-believe, because there's been other companies in this personal rapid transit space that I'll just simply say that we have paid attention to the things to do and not to do.
Yes.
And so we've been very, very deliberate about it. So after September 25th, it's probably still searchable, but we put out a press release, and it was announcing not only that we had come to market or kind of prototype 1.0, but we were also looking for strategic partners, investors, and projects. And because it's a bold vision, we had a bold ask. We want a strategic partner, investor, and project all in one person or one person group, because we want to get out of our test and demonstration site and bring it live somewhere. And that's how we began that process. So September, I'll call it October of 24, finished up May of 25, 8 months. I have been asked to be to every corner of the earth.
That's incredible.
It is incredible. And I just, if Kristen Corvo was sitting next to me, it is pent up demand. It is, I could pick. Again, haven't been to Toronto, but I could pick Baltimore, where I've lived for years. I could pick Tampa. The drive downtown is crazy.
You'd love it in Toronto.
It's 22 miles. But if you leave it one time, it's 35 minutes. If you leave it another time, it can literally be an hour and a half. And by the time you get there, you are out of your mind.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you do research on large-scale corporations, and that are global corporations. They won't even have meetings at certain time of the day because they know people are stuck in traffic. I mean, it's all the data's there. Here's one for you. Why is there a persistence to build mass monorails, mass transit to an airport?
Because everyone's leaving from there, no? That's probably, you can't be late at airports.
Okay. But the statistics do not show that people go to the airport in mass. They go as individuals or pairs or maybe a family. So there's not this mass movement to go to an airport all at one time. People assemble at the airport en masse to then go do air carrier, whatever they're going to do. But they don't go there en masse.
Fair
it just
enough.
Doesn't happen. And then if you look at who are the common riders, in commercial air, it's 1 and 2 people. Yeah. And again, then you'll have, if that's 80+%, then you have your family, you have your athletic teams, you have your business groups. But that's kind of minor compared to the real number. So why do we spend X hundred billions of dollars to build a massive monorail to an airport when you could do it for a fraction of the cost, have it done scalable, and people would, not that people don't do mass transit, but again, it's such a entrenched mindset that we just, the way we approach it is, we are another layer in the future of mobility. We're here, take it for a ride. The future's here, take it for a ride. And then you tell us if you have a particular mobility area, convention center, massive Dubai shopping mall, harbors that are narrow, you can't build things, and it's got to be something off the ground. There's a million use cases. College university campuses for mobility and safety. I mean, some of the college campuses, 35,000 kids, 50,000, 100,000. How do you get around there? And it can't always be a scooter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's a great idea. And I think this is a question I like to ask all the time. And you kind of touched on it. But if we're having this conversation again in 5 years, what does success look like for SNAAP? Are there SNAAP hubs running in multiple cities?
Yeah.
Is it still in a small startup mode? I mean,
no.
Are you an infrastructure provider? What is it?
No. You say you can, if you post this podcast out soon, I might start getting some extra phone calls. What I would expect in 5 years is that we have installations, I'd guess at least 3 to 5, around the world, and we will control those very closely because we want to have those in different settings. So again, I have a proposal, or we've done a design for actually Dubai Harbor. It's such a narrow corridor. I waited 2 hours for an Uber to be then stuck in traffic for 2 hours just because you couldn't move.
Ironic.
Here, perfect use cases here. I would say Sao Paulo, Brazil could actually be, Friday of this week, we could hear something. So some of these things are rather imminent. I'm in the Middle East a lot. So whether it's in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, if it's in the Emirates state, whether it's Sharjah or Dubai. See people are, oh, it's Dubai. No, learn geography and nationalism and things like that. So UAE is just an incredible place, and there's more than just Dubai. Abu Dhabi's got theirs and Sharjah's got theirs. So, think beyond the flashy lights and things like that. But I would probably say a university campus, a harbor, a marina, that kind of thing. Certainly a convention center is optimal. Sports entertainment complexes. The other thing I want to add this is with the new flying cars or air taxis, they can't land at a traditional airport. So they're building all these vertiports, and those will typically be found either near an international airport or near a train station or in downtown areas. And then if you kind of follow that picture, people were going to get off this air taxi and kind of have an anticipation that there's a black car waiting for them or a cab or something. And you're just going to go out and be stuck in traffic, but just less traffic or less of distance. So imagine now a SNAAP pod literally off of the apron of the landing pad, and they could bags walk out, climb into a pod, and then be taken 5 meters above ground. And it could literally be less than a mile or a mile around a geographic apron of to an international airport to the terminal.
Wow.
So there's a million different, I mean, as they say, our video, if you go to Ride SNAAP with 2 A's, Ride SNAAP, SNAAP.com, you'll see our vision video. So back to your very first question, where did this all come from? That is probably the best investment I've had in public relations, because it's screaming, I can't take it anymore. What do we do? And all of these different use cases that are possible. So I would say that to anybody who does listen to this in the near further term, info@ridesnap.com, whether it's projects, whether it's investors, model cities, model municipalities, partners. I could call them out, but let me just call out two. One is Roush, which if you've gone to the Detroit Auto Show and you see those one-of-a-kind futuristic cars, it's not unusual to know that Roush was probably one of the prototype designers and builders. And Roush is our partner. So when we talk about building our pods, of course, we have our design, but Roush is our manufacturing partner. And once we do that, then we do try turn it over to the locals. Another group is just an incredible group based here in Tampa called Ombra. And Ombra is, I'll just say, an incredibly organized and well-led company that is our delivery and support group. And I will say they're all former military. I joke about, straight out of Apache helicopters, because some of them literally are retired, and just incredible intelligence in the field. So, Roush helps manufacture, they come off the line. So what's the distance between final work, delivery, receiving, training, micro work, and these guys are just an incredible partner to us. So there's many others, but I could probably stop there and rather than continue.
Fair enough. But no, I think that's more than enough information and, more than enough, I think, inspiration that a lot of us have gotten just from hearing this. And, the conversation's been a masterclass, like what I've been saying in vision and in grit and systems thinking. Like what you're building with SNAAP just isn't about, moving people from point A to point B. It's, it is reimagining how communities can move forward, with equity, autonomy, purpose, all
equity,
of those things.
Really kind of accessibility, and for the common person. Again, this goes back to Cal. We were driving one day here in Tampa, and he just pointed out, and it was an African-American woman at the bus stop, and he says, "This is for her." And I'm like, tell me more. It was the very first, we were just meeting our first time, and this is 5.5 years ago. And he says, there's no reason for her to have to wait, because our system is 24 hours a day on demand. And our smart software says, I'll say in the area I live in, North Tampa, our system will know that between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m., X number of people leave from this portal and dock area. They come and park at a second floor parking garage. They QR code themselves in. They have already got their profile done on their phone, Android, and their iOS. Pods waiting for them. And so they climb in and it says, "Hi, Yarek, where are we going?" But it already knows really already knows who you are. So it already knows it's Tuesday morning at 7:45, and it goes, "Well, Yarek's going to work."
Yeah.
Unless you almost tell it, "Don't take me to work. I want to go to the beach."
Fair enough.
But you're then taken up. But it knows that kind of thing. And the other thing is that there's historical issues, that highways in TARP were built to redline different groups either in or out. And so we're above that. And now think of all the people that don't go for various social services, don't go for medical services because they don't know who the Uber driver is. They don't want to be in a taxi with a stranger. They can't get even a mile, or again, there's so many things that impact people's decisions to go somewhere. Well,
Exactly.
ours, based on our prices as we're that's designed now, costs $1 to climb in and 25 cents a mile. And that was based on a combination of what our, not AARP, US, what is it? AAA. AAA's cost of vehicle ownership. It had to be less than that. And it was also aligned with the price per mile for gas reimbursement by the U.S. federal government Internal Revenue Service.
That's interesting.
I mean, so there's all these reasons for this. And then if it's privately funded, this is going to be the punchline. So if this is privately funded, the investors, from the day somebody climbs in, they're getting revenue back.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, if you're now building a public rail, and we have one here in Florida, and I think last year they lost $190 million. I'm like, I don't know how you lost it. I mean, it's somewhere, but I know I couldn't lose that and not have, hell to pay.
Yeah.
But when you invest it, and I'll just use it as an example, college and university campus attached to an entertainment complex. It's a great normal business. Both of those are private sector locations. And so we could actually start building that today. And now if the hotels are there or the innovation districts are there or there's these use cases and parking lots are all over the place, it costs me $1 to climb in, 25 cents. It's a no-brainer. Oh, maybe I've been out partying, or I'm a professor and I got to get over to the campus, or I'm a student, I'm going to the football game. We're just another part of that seamless mobility kind of environment and ecosystem. But if the university charges $9 more for their student services fee,
Yeah.
or the hotel says we're going to increase our room cost by 50 cents.
Exactly. No
Guess
brainer.
it just got paid.
You're right.
So again, these are really the business model is as important as the solution that we've built. So it's been again, very exciting journey. Thank you for the compliment on this being a masterclass. I will say that as much as I have shared, I have been the benefactor of incredible mentors and advisors and coaches in my life. They all know who they are, and we've got great counsel around us. So we don't do anything in a vacuum. We've got great advisors. We've got great specialists. Our team is just, they're just the best. So it's not been chance. If I was wearing my other shirt, I have a tag in my signature line. It's called #Rise and Execute.
Wow.
And as they say, I'm not a rise and sunshiny kind of guy. I'm a rise and execute. And if you execute, it means you had a plan. And
That's right.
To anybody I send an email to, it says, as always, focused on delivery.
I loved that actually when we were
That's right.
when
and
we
then
were talking.
Internally, it says, as always, heads down, focused on delivery. And so we don't get distracted by, you should have a PR team or you should have a social media. That doesn't mean anything to us. The ability to execute Cal Chamberlain's vision is what we're all focused on. And that has been the North Star for us the last 5 years. And the team, even as of the board last night and the team this past week, we're all nodding it. We all know it's close. We expect site visits by major investors this summer, but we think that some things will happen in the next few weeks.
That's
For
amazing.
anybody who's in the Middle East or around the world, SNAAP Transportation will be in Dubai June 23rd through the 28th.
I'll throw that all in the description as well.
With June 24th and 25th as the Mobility Live Middle East Congress at the Dubai World Trade Center. So we'll be there. We'll be at Move America 25 in Detroit. We will be at the Smart City Congress in Barcelona in November, and probably a place or two in between that.
That's
Last
amazing.
one I want to put the plug in for, Smart Cities Council, extraordinary global organization doing incredible work, to Corey Gray, who's the president there, and his team, another great partner group that cities should be involved with, and transportation, resiliency, scalability, sustainability groups should really focus on their work as well.
That's fantastic. No, that's a great way to close it out. And I guess the last couple of remarks from me, your background, your clarity of, mission and commitment to the, I guess, real world execution are exactly what this podcast was made to spotlight. So But fantastic, guys. Thanks again for taking the time, and I can't wait to see how this evolves to grow. And this is going to be fantastic, and hopefully we can get you on again, and maybe the owner as well, so that we can get a bigger conversation going. And I'm sure the viewers would appreciate it. I know it would mean the world to me, so I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see how much further this can go.
Yep. Just as I say, the future is here. Take it for a ride. And if you need more information, info at ride with two A's, ridesnap.com. And you can find us on Instagram at snap2a's.transportation. Plenty of ways to find out what we're doing and keep up to date.
Amazing. Cheers. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.